Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like the person staring back was not you? What if that reflection could speak? What if it whispered every doubt, every fear, every failure, until you began to believe it? Tonight, you will step into the mind of a man who faced the one enemy no one can ever run from, himself. A story where fear is not a monster hiding in the dark, but a voice inside waiting to be silenced. Stay till the end, because what happens when he finally confronts that voice will change how you see your own reflection forever. Turn up your volume and let this story awaken something inside you. The rain fell softly against the glass window. The sound echoed through the small, dimly lit room. A single lamp flickered on the desk, casting long shadows across the floor. Ayaan sat silently, staring at the old mirror hanging on the wall. His reflection looked back at him, tired eyes, trembling hands, and a face that carried years of self-doubt. He had spent his life avoiding challenges. Every time an opportunity appeared, he felt that same cold whisper in his mind. You are not enough. Tonight, that whisper felt louder than ever. He had been invited to give a speech in front of hundreds of people, a dream he had once prayed for. Yet now, he wanted to run away. The storm outside grew stronger. Thunder rolled like a warning. He could feel his heart pounding, each beat echoing through his ribs. He stood up and walked closer to the mirror. His own reflection seemed to move with a strange intensity. It was as if the version inside the mirror was alive, watching him, judging him. You always run away. The voice inside his head spoke again. But this time, it sounded different. It was deeper, colder, almost real. Ayaan froze. The reflection smiled, but he had not moved his lips. The lamp flickered once more. The entire room seemed to shrink, as if the walls were pressing closer with every breath. He took a step back, his palms sweaty, his breath shallow. What is happening? He whispered to himself. The reflection spoke again. I am not your fear, Ayaan. I am you, the part of you that keeps you small, the part you feed every time you say I cannot. A chill ran down his spine. His throat felt tight, his knees weak. He wanted to look away, but he could not. The reflection continued. You built me. Every time you avoided pain, every time you chose comfort over courage, I grew stronger. Ayaan's eyes filled with tears. His own voice trembled as he said, Then, how do I destroy you? The reflection's smile faded. You do not destroy fear, it said softly. You face it. The light flickered again. This time, the bulb burst, and the room fell into complete darkness. Only the sound of Ayaan's breathing filled the air. He could feel the presence of something standing right in front of him. Close. Too close. He reached out his trembling hand into the dark, and his fingers touched the cold surface of the mirror. The moment his skin met the glass, a surge of warmth spread through his body. The storm outside suddenly went silent, and for the first time in years, the voice in his mind was gone. The silence was heavy, thick like fog, almost breathing with him. Ayaan stood frozen, his fingertips still pressed against the glass. It felt warm now, almost alive. Then, faintly, he began to see something. Inside the mirror, not his reflection, but memories. They flickered like old film reels. His childhood failures, the moments he was laughed at, the faces of people who told him he was not enough. Each image cut deep into his heart. He wanted to turn away, but his feet refused to move. He saw the day he quit his dream job, the time he lied to his parents that he was fine, the moment he stayed silent when he wanted to speak. The mirror showed it all. Tears streamed down his cheeks. His breath came in sharp, uneven waves. He felt the weight of every regret, pressing down on his chest. Then, a voice echoed again. But this time, it was calm, gentle. This is what you fear, Ayaan. Not the world, not failure, but yourself. He fell to his knees, his hand shaking. He whispered, Then, what am I supposed to do now? The voice replied, Forgive. The mirror's surface began to ripple, like a lake touched by rain. The memories slowly melted away, replaced by light. Ayaan felt warmth flooding his chest. The fear that had followed him for years, the whispers, the hesitation, the pain, all began to fade. He stood up slowly, eyes red, but calm. When he looked again, his reflection was just a reflection. No voice, no movement, only him. Real, breathing, alive. He took one long, deep breath and smiled faintly. The storm outside had stopped. The world was quiet again. And in that quiet, Ayaan felt something he had never truly felt before. Peace. He turned off the broken lamp, opened the window, and let the cool morning air touch his face. A new day had begun, and this time, he was not running from it. The air outside was crisp. The sky, once covered with clouds, now glowed with the soft gold of dawn. Birds sang faintly in the distance, their sound carried by a gentle breeze. Ayaan stepped out barefoot. The ground was wet from the night's rain, cool beneath his feet. Real, grounding. For years, he had feared this feeling. The world beyond his door. The noise, the people, the eyes that might judge him. But now, he simply breathed it all in. He walked slowly toward the small garden outside his home. The flowers were heavy with droplets, each one reflecting the sunlight like tiny mirrors of their own. He smiled, not because life was perfect, but because for the first time, he did not feel small. Suddenly, a faint sound reached his ears. Laughter. Children playing on the street corner. He looked at them, and for a moment, felt a strange ache. He remembered himself as a child, the dreams he once had, the boldness that once filled his heart before fear took over. He whispered softly, "I am coming back to you." He walked further down the street. The city was waking up, cars starting, vendors shouting, the smell of fresh bread and morning tea in the air. Every sound, every scent, every movement, it all felt new, alive. As he walked, people passed by him. Some smiled, some ignored him, but none of it mattered. The voice inside, the one that had once told him he was not enough, was silent. Instead, there was another voice now, quiet, steady, and filled with warmth. It said, "You face yourself, Ayaan. Now face the world." He stopped near a small cafe. Through the window, he saw a poster, "Motivational talk tonight, facing inner fear." Ayaan stared at it for a long moment. It was the very event he had once planned to run from. He felt a rush of energy surge through him. Not confidence, but courage. The kind that comes when you know fear, and still choose to walk forward. He took a deep breath. His reflection appeared faintly in the cafe glass. This time, it smiled with him. Ayaan opened the door and stepped inside. The bell above the entrance rang softly, like a welcome, and with that small sound, his new journey began. The cafe smelled of roasted coffee and fresh pastries. Warm light poured through the windows, painting the walls in soft amber tones. Ayaan walked inside, his heart beating like a quiet drum. The event banner hung near the counter. A small stage, a microphone, a few rows of chairs neatly arranged. He hesitated for a moment, his hands slightly trembling. The old feeling tried to return, that whisper of doubt. But this time, he smiled at it. "I see you," he thought, "but you do not control me anymore." He walked toward the organizer, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes. "Hello," Ayaan said softly. "I am the speaker for tonight." She looked at him and smiled warmly. "We were beginning to wonder if you would show up." Ayaan chuckled. "There was a time I almost didn't." As the evening drew near, the cafe filled with people, students, workers, dreamers. The low hum of conversation mixed with the sound of cups clinking and chairs moving. When his name was announced, Ayaan stepped onto the stage. The lights felt bright on his face, and for a brief moment, his body froze. He could hear his heartbeat. He could feel the dryness in his throat. The fear whispered again, "What if you fail?" But this time, he took a deep breath and smiled. He spoke slowly, his voice calm, steady, each word carrying weight. "I used to live inside a cage made of invisible bars called fear." The audience went silent. Every eye was on him. I was afraid to speak, afraid to try, afraid to be seen. But what I learned, he paused, is that fear is not your enemy. It is your shadow. It only follows you when you walk toward the light. A gentle murmur spread through the room. People leaned forward, listening closer. He continued, "The mirror inside my mind used to show me everything I hated about myself. But one night, I realized that mirror was not lying. It was showing me the parts one needed to face." A young man in the front row wiped his eyes. A woman smiled through tears. Ayaan's voice softened. "You will never silence fear by running from it. You silence it by walking straight through it, step by step, breath by breath." He paused, looked at the crowd, and said his final words slowly. "Do not wait for courage. Create it." The cafe was silent for a moment. Then came the applause. Loud, heartfelt, unending. Ayaan felt something rise in his chest. Not pride, but peace. He smiled, his heart calm, his mind clear. He had not just faced his fear. He had transformed it. When the applause faded, Ayaan stepped down from the stage. Dozens of faces turned toward him. Faces shining with hope, with tears, with understanding. People approached him one by one. A young man said, "Your words felt like mine." An older woman whispered, "I thought I was too late to change. You made me believe again." Ayaan smiled at each of them, realizing something profound. His fear had never been a curse. It had been his greatest teacher. That night, as he walked home beneath the quiet sky, the city lights shimmered like stars fallen to earth. He could still feel the warmth of the crowd, the energy of connection, the truth that courage spreads, like ripples in still water. He paused near a shop window, and his reflection appeared once more. No longer a stranger, no longer a shadow, just him, strong, calm, alive. He whispered softly, "Thank you for teaching me who I am." A gentle breeze brushed past his face. The world felt open, limitless. Ayaan walked forward, each step steady, each breath filled with peace, because now he understood. The real strength is not in being fearless, but in walking with fear and never letting it stop you again.